Welcome. I'd like to tell you about a workshop that I did, one of many. This particular one was maybe 25 years ago, and I've never forgotten it, because I had a group of people working with clay and meditation for a week. And one evening, as we were working out in a workshop, not in a house, in a dwelling house, but in a workshop, and people were sitting around, and we decided we'd have the Eucharist at the end of the day, just sitting on the floor as we were. And somebody went out and found a broken pot, one that had been discarded and blackened and pieces missing and that, cleaned it up a bit and put it on the low table, which was the altar, and lit a stub of candle and put it into it. And it was a very beautiful atmosphere, and as the evening went down, nobody thought of putting on the lights, so it became nice and dim, and the light of the candle where you could see it. And then the first reading was from St. Paul, the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 7. I remember it, it's burnt into my brain. It was St. Paul saying, what a gift we have received from God, the grace of God, the light of the glory of God, shining in the face of Christ. And we have this treasure. But he said, we have it in earthen vessels. And earthen vessels in St. Paul's time were very fragile because they didn't have high firing. If you look crooked at them, they would break. So very fragile, symbol of how fragile a human being is. And then people were exchanging thoughts about that and experiences. And there was one old man was telling us about his life, and he said, I went through a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties. But he said, I found that all the brokenness in me and all the hardships and the things that failed and all of that, something good came through them in the end. And as if by providence, in that very moment, the stub of candle fell down into the pot where candle grease had been there before it, and it lit up brightly, and the light shone out through the cracks and through the parts that were missing. It was a wonderful moment. It couldn't have been planned. And when people saw this happening, they just laughed. I remember laughter that lasted a good while. And people laugh for different reasons, usually because we're amused, but people sometimes laugh for joy. It was a perfect moment. It was like St. Paul's words were given body in that moment. And the light of Christ, the light, the gift of God, shines through the cracks in us, through what is missing, through your failures, not just through your success. The world worships success and coming first and being a winner. But the humble pot taught us the opposite, as St. Paul had so many years before. So the simplest things that happen with clay can open windows for you that can change your life. So don't be so hard on your mistakes and your failures and all that. They could be the very thing that are the blessing in your life. I think was it Leonard Cohen said, there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in. Well, before he composed that song, years before, we had seen in that workshop, there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets out. Yeah, because the light is in us. Thanks be to God.